welcome to this edition of the Good Doctor's Diagnose for Wednesday, September 18th. And you may or may not know that on our pop culture analysis side of the business, we've been talking about Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, which is a show on Netflix that has to do a lot with representation and gender dynamics, a lot of things we like to talk about. But today we're going to analyze and break down and diagnose a specific scene and talk about methods of communication, power dynamics, and leadership skills or lack of skills. So in this particular scene, one of the main characters, Ruth, has gone and done some independent work that appears to overstep the bounds of her authority to the person who is in the position of managing her, who is her boss, her superior, a man named Sam. And Sam takes it upon himself to berate and humiliate and yell at her in front of everyone else that is a part of their show. It's a really upsetting scene to watch. It's very humiliating and degrading for Ruth as she deals with it. And so we're going to break down why that's not something you should be doing.
So a couple quick things. Ruth did ask permission to do this activity, and Sam said essentially do whatever you want. So at that point, the onus, if Sam had boundaries of what he did or did not think was appropriate, at that point, the onus was on Sam to create those boundaries to let Ruth know what she was supposed to do. Instead, he kind of said, you know, go with God, get out of my hair. It was a very dismissive permission.
Yeah.
And so
do whatever you want as long as you stay out of my way.
As long as you stay out of my way. So she went, totally crushed it, like did a great job with what she did. She comes back. And so at that point, on a certain level, any of us who have watched, like any of us who are familiar with this dynamic, you can watch that Sam is embarrassed that he never thought of that, or that he's overwhelmed that her ideas were better.
And his authority, his position of authority and power is threatened. And so he deals with that threat by lashing out.
So this is very common in workplaces. This is very common in family dynamics. This is very common in how humans interact with each other. What we would recommend is that you don't do that. And instead, as a manager, the very first question you should ask yourself is, did I contribute to this conversation at all?
Yes.
So Sam should have been able to be like, okay, what did I tell her to do? What did she possibly violate? Did she violate anything?
Why am I feeling angry or upset about what is happening in this situation? We talk a lot about the importance of being reflective and knowing yourself so that you can be a better leader and manager. So take a second, take a step back and look at your emotions. Why is this upsetting me? Is this the best way to handle my emotions?
But also, is there a piece of legitimacy in it? So like from my perspective, Ruth did blow a budget. Now Sam didn't give her one, but she should have also known that what she was doing was very expensive and they didn't have money. So Sam has to sit there and be like, okay, I do actually have to potentially discipline Ruth for this. I have to reprimand her. So the way that you do that, though, is potentially through a private conversation, a scheduled meeting, you have data, all those kind of other things. At no point in time, in any way, shape, or form, should any leader call out somebody who works with or for them in front of other employees. You may have to do this in a management setting in which all the power dynamics are neutral and everyone's on the same plane. Fine, that sometimes is appropriate. It is absolutely never appropriate to berate somebody where there are multiple power dynamics within a room.
That's right. And as we said, this is a very common reaction. And so it didn't surprise us when it happened within the show, but we saw it as a great opportunity to break down some of the cultural stereotypes we have around leadership and power dynamics and dealing with conflict in a workplace environment, and talk about and give you some better tips on how to handle that in your organization.
Absolutely. So number one, let's review. Ask yourself why you're reacting this way.
Yep.
Number two, diagnose quickly if there's a legitimate grievance that needs to be addressed, and figure out a way to address that calmly and with documentation.
And number three, make sure that you set boundaries for that interaction if and when it needs to happen. And that unless it has to happen in front of a group where power dynamics are equal, it should almost always happen just between you and that individual person or several people, not in front of the entire staff or entire team.
So that's it from us. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Take care.